Anonymous School of Music, where music education is prominent. Today we have another special video for the producer community as we continue to learn how to create melodies by using chords and the science of music. So we're going to get right into it. We do this for the SPAnonMusicSchool School of Music. Got a link to the website in the description where we train many producers. You can find out more information there, how you can get trained. Now, getting right into it, we're going to create the tonal center, which is very important. So we want to know what key we're going to be in. So we're going to do modal music. And like I said, with modal music, you can use chords without having an actual chord progression. That's kind of one of the special things about modal music. You can stack any chords you want over the tonal center and it'll work because it's all diatonic. So in the key of, we're going to use D Phrygian. So we're in the Phrygian mode. The Phrygian mode is the third mode, okay, of any major scale. So in this case, if we are in D Phrygian, okay, this will be the third of B flat. So we're technically in the key of B flat major, and then we shift over to the third scale degree, which is D, and that's how we get the D Phrygian. So let's just rewind a little bit for you. So with the scale itself, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, and B flat, that creates the scale. So this obviously be your tonic, your first scale degree, and second and third, and so you land on the Phrygian. And with the Phrygian, with the mode is from one note to the next. So it's still the B flat major scale, but we start on D and it goes to D. So now our new scale, which is a mode, the Phrygian mode would be D, right? F, G, A, B flat, C, and D. So in the Phrygian mode, what it is a minor chord, okay? There are three modes that have minor chords. You have your Aeolian, which is the relative minor to the major key, which is on the 6th scale degree. Then you have your Dorian, which is the second mode, so it would be C Dorian. And then, of course, where we are in the third mode is Phrygian. Now, what makes the Phrygian mode so special is that it has a flat 9. Okay, so it gives you the minor chord with a flat 9. It's the only mode that does so for the minor chords. So with the flat 9, it's used a lot in trap to create a darker, more dissonant sound. Okay, because flat 9 as opposed to the natural 9, it gives you quite a sound. If you can hear this. So flat 9 would be here. Okay, and the natural 9 would be here. And as you can see, the natural 9 is more consonant and the flat 9 is very dissonant and more harsh on the ears. And so it gives a little bit more, like I said, more darker sound, a little bit more attitude, if you will. So we're going to use chords to create melodies. So we're going to this is very simple. We're going to take the one chord, our new one chord, since we're going to act in D Phrygian. So our one chord would be D minor. You build chords in thirds. And we're going to take this chord and we're just going to arpeggiate it up. Okay, so we have an ascending arpeggiation. Very simple, root position. And we're going to basically play the flat 2 chord, which is E flat, okay, which is the 4th scale degree of B flat. And that's the chord progression. It's very common chord progression in trap where you just basically have the minor chord and you go up a half step to a major chord. And this is used a lot in trap. So that's it. And we're going to arpeggiate. Let's listen to it first and then we'll break it down. So we're basically arpeggiating the chord. So this is your simple D minor chord is arpeggiated, okay, and then what you notice here is note surrounding, okay, so we're going to now play the E flat major, but we're going to surround the root note because this is a musical technique, note surrounding, and it's very much pleasing to the ears and usually always accepted. It's used in classical, jazz, bebop, country, pop, R&B, trap, everywhere. And we just surround the note. So here's our note. We surrounded it first, right, by D. Okay, it's under it, and then F is above it, and then we actually hit the target note. What this does is it makes it very much concentrated on the sound once you do actually hit the sound. So And then we do the same thing here. When it comes back to the D minor chord, we're going to surround the D note. See, so we surround the E flat and then we surround D. This is gives you a very, very nice sound. It's a compositional technique, and it's, like I said, used a lot from every composer, from Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, going all the way up into the jazz. And like I said, today's music pop is very common and very, very pleasing to the ear. So you want to learn this technique and use it a lot. And as you learn with SPAnonMusicSchool School of Music, we always have, you know, notes surrounding and things like that. So you'll get a lot of information on that and how to use it, and you can practice it. Okay, so going back, when we get back to the E flat major chord again, same thing. We're going to surround the note. And then a slight variation here. So you want to do your variations at the end of the 4-bar phrases. Okay, so here's the end. That way it gives it a sense of, you know, distinctiveness, and also that's going to kind of turn around and repeat. And then the second time we do, you know, another variation. But again, this is the same thing, just the arpeggio. Okay, and then notes surrounding here. And again, this time we're going to have a falling line, and like I said, that's just a variation to make it different. So again, so we got the D minor, and we're using that chord, and all we're doing is arpeggiating it, and then we're going to surround the next chord, and then that's arpeggio root position. Very simple, but look how it can, you know, creates a nice complex sound. So you can be simple and then kind of get something complex by using music theory or science of music. Now let's listen to it again now that you know what's happening, and you'll see that it sounds good with the arpeggios, the notes surrounding. You'll notice it, how it's pleasing to your ears, and then also you'll notice the slight variations at the end of every 4 bars all the way down to the falling line, and that gives it the variety, because remember, this is a loop, so we want to have the variety and the variations, so that way as it continues to repeat over and over again, it doesn't be so boring or, you know, get repetitive or redundant. All right, so it's very, very beautiful. And pretty much with this, I mean, there's your tonal center. We are in D Phrygian, and we like to step up a half step into the Lydian mode, or the Lydian chord, because we're still in the Phrygian mode. So the modal music is basically like, as we play the Lydian chord, we're still just, it's over a D minor. And like an example, if you took a D minor chord, okay, and then you could play the D in the bass, we can keep the D in the bass and still play the Phrygian chord, because it's all modal. So that would be like what you call a pedal point, basically. So anyway, with that, once your first main ideas is set, your tonal center is created, the beat is actually done. Okay, so, and I'll show you, but you can put in your kicks and your claps and all that stuff. So you already have a beat going, as you can see. And what we're going to do next is, as you guys continue to follow, and you know what we do, we're going to fill out the frequency spectrum and get the sound more full. So we'll take a tutti layer, and it's the exact same pattern. And then this one is going to be a different instrument and a different register to create, to cover a frequency spectrum that the other instrument is not covering, and it makes the sound more full. We're going to get color out and use effects to bring the color out. And now it sounds more full. Now we can add the bass, and with the bass, it's very simple. We're just going to go ahead and follow the guidelines of the chords. And even though the flat 2 chord would hit directly on beat 2, we go ahead and set the bass on the off beat, so that way we get, like, you know, syncopated rhythm. It's not American music emphasizes the off beat. Okay, so you want to be able to do that. Of course, this is in a different key, so But if you know music theory, you don't have to worry about, I guess, tuning your 808 or anything like that, because it's just transposing it. Okay, so up a half step, actually. So if we were in D Phrygian, now it's D sharp Phrygian. So if you know your scales and stuff, it's not a problem. You know, D sharp Phrygian is the third mode of B major. So if you know your B major and all your scales, it's not an issue. And so let's look at the bass line, and it's like I said, it's just following the little arpeggios. And again, so we chose the flute, and you can get color based on the instrument. So the first flute, you saw the color is automatically in there, and it's not because of the notes we're playing. We're just playing root position. If you guys, like I said, following in the series, we know that a root note or a fifth or a quality tone, you know, has its purposes, but it's not color. You'll get the color from the extensions on the actual notes you play, but you can also get color based on the instrumentation. So here we use the color of a flute and stuff. So keep that in mind. You can get your color from the instrumentation as well as the extensions from the chords. Now, another thing is it's the sequence of shape. So go back to the ARP. As you can see, the shape, which is a triad shape, you can see it here. Here's a better view if we do this. We'll minimize it, and you can see the shape. See, so up. Notes around up, notes around up, notes around up, falling down because we're at the end of the 4 measures, just to give it some variation, and the same thing, up, notes around up, notes around up, notes around, or going up, and then completely falling line going all the way down. This gives you a variation, but the key is look at the shaping here. Okay, you can see everything locked inside the octave here, the actual full octave range here, but it's the same shape, right? It goes up, notes around, right? Boom. So quick turn around and back up, and the same thing. See the little shape. So it's like if you looked at the sheet music to the Moonlight Sonata written by Beethoven, you would see the exact same shape from the so it's the same triplet chord arpeggiated shape. Okay, so also you can use shapes and you can sequence the shape. Sequencing meaning we took the same shape and just moved it up to another key or another chord, which in this case is diatonic, so we just moved up a half step. So you can do that. And obviously we have the variations, which was very important. So okay, and like I said, the beat is pretty much done. You have the sequence of the shape by using the root position triads, and then we're moving them up diatonically, right, with a variation at the end of the 4 bars, every 4 bars, to create, like I said, a sense of distinctiveness and not getting boring. So you have the rise and fall type of melody, and then we tutti, right? We tutti layered that melody, so for texture, to fill out frequency spectrum and to make the sound more full and colorful. Okay, and then the bass is delayed, right? The second chord, remember we talked about that, is delayed, right? So we can give it, it basically emphasizes American rhythm. Okay, so this is how you can create a masterpiece, very simple, and it's another beat that has, you know, plenty of leases on it and things like that, so you'll make money, and the quality of your music is very, you know, important. Quality over quantity, remember that. So now, let's go finish this up and go into the lead melody, which this is where things get really, really important. So we have this lead melody. It's a descending arpeggio, basically, ranging from a major 6th, because you'll see the A is a major 6th, and then sometimes as it goes to A, B flat, and then we have the minor 7th, and then with the melody going all the way down to B flat, here's a whole octave. So that's where the melody will range at times from a major 6th to a minor 7th to the octave. Okay, and we're going to variate. This time we're going to variate every time. Okay, and to really give it a variety. And modal music allows the usage of any chord over a chord. So remember that, it's very valuable. So our color, remember, it comes from instrumentation and chord extensions. So let's listen to this lead melody and then we'll go over the science behind it. So that sets it off with the color. So we take these chords that were once simple triads and then we're going to make them a lot more complex. So with the first falling line, okay, so you have this falling line is A, F, D, and C, and that is a D minor 7, okay, falling, and it's basically in third inversion, okay, and it's descending from third inversion. This is also a F major 6 chord, so this is kind of what I'm talking about. You could just think chords in your music to play over whatever, and it's all diatonic, so it'll go together. Diatonic meaning it's all in the same key. So anyway, when you take a D minor, right, and you play D minor 7, obviously you get a D minor 7 chord, or F major 6 is still a D minor 7 chord. Those chords are interchangeable. And here, basically, we have the C, the D, and the E flat. The only new addition here is the C and the D over the E flat major chord. So now we have a major, kind of like a major 7/6 chord. So I have the major 7 and the 6 in it, right? Here's the 7 and the 6, and that's nice. And then the second time, if you look, variation, right? And this was talk about, so this is, you know, like melodic displacement, as you're expecting something, you're expecting this same line to come, but something's going to change. The second time, we're going to play the chord, as you can see it falling. Now it has E flat right here instead of the D, and that's the flat 9. So we're emphasizing the flat 9. So now we're really on beat 3, or measure 3, excuse me. We are really emphasizing the Phrygian mode. And so here's your flat 9. This is also an F major 7 chord and second inversion, F dominant 7 chord and second inversion, descending. Okay, and this could be looked at that way, or again, you have your D minor 7 with the flat 9. Flat 9 being E flat. Okay, so remember D, the next note would be E. That's your 2, your 9, and if you flat it, E flat. Okay, and then the same thing here. We run that the 6th and the 7th, and then on measure 5, we change it again. So again, variations. Remember, when you variate, it keeps something from being boring. It keeps your music from being predictable, and it gives it a little suspense because now the listener has to wait and see what you're going to do. Melodic, whether you do it via melodic displacement, rhythmic displacement, you know, however you do it, it's really important and good as far as the psychology behind the music. Now, on measure 5, notice now we're going to start the line on the B flat. Okay, so B flat, A, F, C. Of course, you have a F major triad right here. Okay, so this can be seen in 2 different ways. So you have I guess a F major, a B. You could say B flat major add 9. It just doesn't have the D in it, and playing that over it. But it's also just becomes the minor chord. It's a minor 7 with the sharp 5. So the 5 sharp here. So all these colors being added into the melodies now starting to give it all of its flavor, right? Because other than that, it would just be simple triad, right? But now we have, 7 chords and sharp 9, and we're really getting some color in there. Here's a sharp 5. We'll do the same thing again here on the back end for the flat 2 chord. And now coming again this time, we go all the way and jump, and we omit the C and jump down to B flat. And again, this is a simple minor chord with the sharp 5 in it. So it gets very, very complex, very beautiful. And then at the very, very end, it's an E flat major 9 now because we have an F right here. So that's the 9 on the E flat. This is all your variety. So listen to it again now that you hear what's going on, and notice how the flavor changes. Okay, so we listen to it like with and without. So here's without, and again, it's just simple in coloration. The color at this point is really mainly relying on the instrumentation, and then when we add the lead in, you'll notice that you'll get actual color because we're now using 7s and 9s and flat 9, sharp 9, and to get the color. See, so it sounds good, and then we'll go ahead and add this in here, and this is when it makes it more complex and gives it more a character. Notice here the rhythmic displacement, but it's very quick, all right, as opposed to before. So this is something like I just talked about, rhythmic displacement. So we changed the rhythm up, and like again, it makes your music unpredictable as opposed to kind of boring and predictable. So it's the nice falling line, and everything is all set up in place. So what did we learn today? You know, we went over a lot of different stuff, and I'm gonna just put it all in a nutshell for you, and you'll need to study and pay attention and maybe watch it a few times to take notes and go. And the key is to not just watch this video like it's not a movie, it's not Netflix, right? You're studying, so you need to watch it multiple times, and then also to incorporate these things. You can't just watch this video and study from it and then not do anything about it. You have to get in the studio and you have to start arpeggiating chords. You have to try modal music, put yourself in a mode. You have to look, think about the colorations, all the things you're learning about the science, that you're learning about the science and psychology behind the music. And you have to go ahead and add, extensions in your chords and practice all these techniques, the note surroundings and things like that. So anyway, we learned about the Phrygian mode, and its importance and distinctiveness, how it has the flat 9. It's the only mode that has so, and it's used a lot in trap to create a darker and more dissonant sound. We learned about modal, modal music, and a simple 3/4 or a 1 flat 2 chord progression, how we can make it more complex by arpeggiating the chords. We also learned how we can get coloration from the instrumentation. Also, sequence of shape, how to take a shape and use the same shape but just change the notes within the scale diatonically. So that's another technique that we use in composition. The variations, how variations are important, to do the variations so that way your music doesn't become boring, and you have it, gives it a distinctive sound. Okay, and then we talked about, rise and fall type of melody. You see the difference in that. How to 2D layer something for texture to fill out the frequency spectrum to make the sound more full and colorful. The bass, how we can delay the bass from the chord so we can create a rhythmic variety and emphasize offbeats like American music. Lead melody, descending arpeggios, okay? And also how to variate. We variate every time on that to give it a little difference, and basically that would be melodic displacement. And it allows, and then we talked about how modal music allows the usage of any chord over a chord, and our color comes from instrumentation, chord extensions, and then we learned how to create a more complex chord progression through the melody, or chord implicated through the melody. It's not really a progression, okay? And that's pretty much it. So it's a nice beat, a lot of techniques in there, even though it's very, very simple. So let's listen to it fully in the outro. right, so there's the entire composition, and as you can see, very beautiful, very nice. It's very concentrated, and something so simple, just taking one chord, one mode, D Phrygian mode, and even starting from a simple triad, we went ahead and created an entire tonal center with tons of musical notes. And as you see, the effects really help. And that's where the studio comes in. So that's what also you guys need to know is the music comes first. Do the music. And as you see, we took these simple patterns. I was able to add effects to them and things like that to get the sound more full. You will be able to get to the knob twisting, but before that comes the music. You got to create the music first. And your opportunities will become enormous when you cater to the music first, and then you use the DAW to slave. You use the DAW as a slave for the music. Right now, a lot of you guys are being slaved by the DAW. You make most of your decisions based on the studio, based on the software. See, I'm going to use this because I have this splice MIDI kit, or I have this, or I'm going to use gross beats, so I have to do a melody like this. You see what I'm saying? You're making choices. You're being a slave to a computer. And music is a higher revelation than man. There's no way, that's completely backwards. So, you know, the DAW, this computer, this software, that's the slave. And we make any type of music that we want to create, and then we make the DAW do what we tell it to do. You see what I'm saying? And that's the power of, you know, music composition and so on and so forth. Anyway, that's it, and we'll continue. We'll have more videos in this series. Also, you know, we'll have another series that's covering arrangement, which is totally different, and so much more. So peace and blessings to everybody. Maestro out.